Coffee with Hx2. Today on our show, I will be speaking with Mekasi Horinek, who is an activist with Standing Rock, and he's a water protector. And he has a wonderful story and a really important story to tell us about what's going on at Standing Rock today and now and over the last year. So welcome, Mekasi. We're really honored to have you on the show. Could you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be involved with Standing Rock?
Well, first of all, I would have to say I've been involved in Native rights activism and environmental activism since birth. My mother and father have always been active. My uncle Carter Camp was a co-founder of the American Indian Movement. So when I was born in 1973, my home was actually the headquarters for the American Indian Movement in Oklahoma. So throughout my life, I've been involved through activism with my family, my mother, father, uncles, grandmother, just kind of born into it. I was invited to Standing Rock by Joy Braun in August, early August. She was one of the first people to set up camp at Sacred Stone Camp on April 1st. And that's how I ended up at Standing Rock.
So your mom told me that when you got there, it was really it wasn't that large of a group. And then quickly you got very involved and the numbers just expanded rapidly.
Yeah, there was a small camp there, the Sacred Stone Camp, maybe 35 to 50 people that were camped out at Sacred Stone at the time I arrived on August the 8th. There was some young men that took it upon themselves to go block the gates. There was a 48-hour notice to construction at that time, and these young men that had been camped out there at Sacred Stone went and blocked the gates and set up a small detail of warriors there to protect the water, protect the land on the pipeline corridor and at the other access point off of Highway 1806. That was August the 9th. And then on August the 10th, we went there to support those young men. And that was the first day that the police presence came, and they made a different access point between the two gates. And that was actually the first day of direct action and the first day that there were arrests of water protectors.
And since then, thousands of people have come there, and they're in residence.
Yeah, I think those first images of relatives going out and putting their lives on the line, making the sacrifice to go to jail for their people, to protect the sacred water and the land, touched a lot of people's hearts. And every day thereafter, people were coming in. The numbers started just jumping, doubling every day until, a few months later, there was 10,000 people there to support this cause.
How are people dealing with the cold? It must be absolutely freezing there right now.
Dedication. These people are dedicated to protect the water. They believe in protecting the sacred sites, protecting our way of life for our children and the future generations. It's definitely cold. A lot of people have gone home. A lot of people have taken the fights back to their territories, things that they learned as far as nonviolent direct action and civil disobedience is spreading out across the country and throughout the world. This is a global movement to protect Mother Earth.
So I actually interviewed your mom, and effectively she said that, Native Americans, indigenous peoples are the first environmentalists, and that this moment in time is something for all of us to learn from, and that's why it's such an important moment. It's, so many different tribes have come together, people from all over the world, people of all colors, all backgrounds. People seem to really be standing behind Standing Rock as an event. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. It doesn't matter where you're from or what color you are, what faith you belong to. Everybody needs water to survive. Everybody needs water for life. And not only us as human beings, as human race, but the planet itself as a living organism All living things need water to survive, and this has become bigger than a pipeline. This has become bigger than one environmental issue. This is about the survival of humanity and the survival of our planet. And we have to change the way that we live. We have to change the way that we're treating Mother Earth. She sustains us, she gives us life, and we need to reciprocate by treating her in a respectful, honorable manner, and cleaning up the mess that we're making.
So I see you have Marcellus Shale on your shirt. We're in the New York area. Could you talk about why you're wearing that and what that symbolizes?
This shirt was actually given to me by Josh Fox,
Aha.
a really good friend of mine that camped with me and stayed with me at Standing Rock. And I think that what we were speaking of just a few minutes ago, that we're all connected, and what's happening to you in your territory directly affects what happens to me in my territory, and vice versa. What we learned at Standing Rock was that unity is our strength, that each one of us has something that's affecting our way of life and the future of our children and our grandchildren in our own territories. Here in Oklahoma, this is the pipeline crossroads of the world, and also the earthquake capital of the world. And we have many issues here in Oklahoma because of those two factors. The fracking and injection wells that take place here in Oklahoma are what is causing the earthquakes here. We have so many pipelines in Oklahoma, 290,000 wells that are in Oklahoma, gas wells, natural gas wells that are leaking. This is all causing the climate breakdown that we're having, the climate change that we're having. And for us to be able to keep the agreement that we made in Paris at the climate talks, we have to change our way of life. We can't build any more new pipelines and be able to adhere to that agreement that we made as a nation. I'm currently fighting a pipeline here in Oklahoma called the Diamond Pipeline that's going to go from Cushing, Oklahoma, which is the pipeline crossroads of the world, to Memphis, Tennessee. And we just don't need any more pipelines in Oklahoma. And with the 5.8 magnitude earthquake that we had while I was in Standing Rock, and being on schedule for a 7.0 earthquake at any time, scientists are telling us, we're preparing for a disaster. We think that it's imminent, and any new pipelines can only add to that devastation. And we need to protect our environment and our natural resources so that our children have good drinking water, clean air, and uncontaminated land when we're gone.
It's just unbelievable. Your mom was telling me about the number of earthquakes you've had there. How many have you had this year in Oklahoma?
1,600 and some earthquakes this year. We had another earthquake yesterday evening, not far from my house.
It's just it's unbelievable. So now we're in a different political climate. You talked about the Paris Climate Agreement, and we know that this administration, Trump's administration, has planning to roll back on that agreement. Doesn't believe climate change is an issue that's we need to be addressing. Is dismantling the EPA, and on and on and on. Can you speak to that?
For us as Native Americans, as indigenous people of this continent, it's nothing new. We've had every agreement that was ever made, they called them treaties, with our people. And the United States government has broke every treaty, and now they're continuing to break treaties with other nations around the world. And we're really scared of the effects that President Trump's decisions are making, not only for our people and our environment here on this continent, but for the planet as a whole. I think that he's very irrational in his decision-making process. For him to appoint Scott Pruitt as head of the EPA, while Scott Pruitt has 6 existing lawsuits against the EPA, is a direct conflict of interest. We know here from being in Oklahoma that Scott Pruitt is in bed with the oil companies, the oil industry, and that nothing good can come from having him as the head of the EPA. So it's just ridiculous, some of the appointments that Trump is making, and we're going to fight him all the way.
So now, I teach, and I'm talking to my students every day, and they want to know what they can do. And so, like you said, there's so many issues, and it's not just, Standing Rock is really important, but it's also symbolic of all the larger problems that we're facing on the earth today. What would you say to them would be the most effective thing that they could do as individuals to help solve where we're at, to find some solutions?
Standing Rock taught us a lot, and there was so many historical things that happened at Standing Rock. It was the first time that the Great Sioux Nation has been back together since the Battle of the Little Bighorn. The first time that the Sacred Council Lodge of the Oceti-Sakowin, the Great Sioux Nation, has been erected since that Battle of the Little Bighorn, and we saw the traditional governing system take place. 350 indigenous nations came together in solidarity for a common cause, and that's the first time in history that has ever happened. I think that what we learned is that our unity, our strength in numbers is we can make a change, but it takes an individual action to make a collective change. So what I would say to those individuals is to go to your family and sit around the table and discuss what you need to change most in your particular territory, in your community, in your homeland, and how can you make an individual action that will benefit the collective movement. We are taking the fight from Standing Rock to our own territories. It's spreading out across Turtle Island, across this continent, and the people that came to Standing Rock found out that they're not alone, that we can call on each other, not only as indigenous people, but allies from across the world, like-minded people that are here to protect our way of life, the sacred water, the sacred sites, our land, and the air that we breathe, the food that we grow, that we have each other to lean on and to depend on. But it starts with going and cleaning up our own backyards. Mm-hmm. And then if we can't do that by ourselves, we can call on our other brothers and sisters to come and help us. And we're there for them as well.
That's a really, really important message. I found myself saying that to a lot of folks who wanted to go to Standing Rock, which was great, but I also pointed out to them that we had issues, pressing issues right here.
My role now is being a father, a grandfather, and protecting the earth and our natural resources for the future generations. There's a quote from Chief Crazy Horse that I try to remind myself on a daily basis, that we do not inherit the land from our ancestors, we only borrow it from our children. So I want to leave this place a better place than it was when I found it, so that my children can have a good life, and my grandchildren and the future generations won't be cleaning up the mess that we left for them, but can enjoy life, and hopefully they'll take that message and carry it for the next 7 generations.
Thank you for that, and really thank you for all your amazing, amazing work at Standing Rock and in Oklahoma. I'm very grateful, and I've been following you, and I really just honor your mother and all she's done. I was following her, all of her work in Paris at the climate talks, and you're just an amazing family, and it's an honor to know you and have spoken with your mom and now with you. So thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you as well.
This is Heidi Hutner with Coffee with Hx2. I've been speaking with Mekasi Horinek. He is a Native American from Oklahoma who was is a major leader at Standing Rock and an environmental activist, and just very grateful to have him on the show today. You can see more of our episodes at HeidiHutner.com. Thanks so much.